Hi everyone, I'm Lucy from Sew Essential and I'm here today to share my latest make with you. Everything I talk about today is available on our lovely website and you'll find the link to that below, plus links to all the products I talk about and any tutorials I mention below as well. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe because every Friday I'll bring you a video packed full of sewing goodness. And if you can't wait a whole week, jump on and have a look at our Instagram account, give us a follow there because every day I share things on the grid, what I'm making, little tips, little techniques, just enough to keep that sewing inspiration going all week long. So let's get started with my latest make, which I know I'll probably say this almost every time, but I really love this dress, guys. I'm so excited about it. It's a cotton jersey wrap dress. And I have to say, I think it's one of the most well-fitting, comfortable dresses I've ever made. I really feel like I'm getting there now at nailing the day dress. This it has to be one of my day dresses of dreams. It's just absolutely perfect for the British summertime when we don't really know what the weather's going to be like. It changes all the time. It's a cotton jersey, so it's breathable, it's cool, it's comfortable, but it's a nice weight. It's not a really flimsy lightweight one. It's got a good sort of weight to it, but lots of nice sort of drape and movement as well. Lovely and soft to the touch. Love the little ditzy prints and just the colourway I think is really nice as well. That yellow and black. There's a little bit of blue and white on there. Just think it's very on trend, the print, and yeah, I'm just absolutely loving this dress. I'm so happy with it. So I'll pop the link to this gorgeous fabric below for you and just give you a twirl. So I'll talk you through the pattern now. So it is New Look 6581 and it's an easy knit wrap dress. I made view A, I think it was, so just the straightforward wrap dress. There's also some pull-on knit trousers and a wrap top that you can make included in this pattern, but I think this is a great example again of one of the big four patterns that when you look at the pattern packet, perhaps not particularly inspiring, but I think this is the best jersey or knit wrap dress I've tried. I'll definitely go back to this. This is going to be my go-to one now. I made a velvet wrap dress, stretch velvet wrap dress at Christmas, and I used a McCall's pattern for that, which was a nice easy pattern as well, but I found that I had to really take that pattern in because there was a lot of excess fabric at the back here. You know, it was quite sort of blues on effect, whereas the fit on this one I just think is fantastic. It's much more of a slender fit on this. I'll just show you the length as well. It's a really nice length. I'm 5'6", so not massively tall, but probably just slightly above average, and it comes down to just on my knee really, which is a nice length I think for everyday wear. So yeah, that's where that comes to. But things I really like about the pattern, so I think the fit, as I said, is great. You know, I graded from a size 12 at the bust to a 14 at the waist and hips. Which I pretty much always do on most patterns, and you know, just that fit round the waist is just lovely. There's not loads of excess fabric, feels like a really good fit. Everything wraps over effectively and sits where it should, so I've got plenty of coverage here. I'm not worried about that blowing open and revealing everything. There's plenty of coverage, as you can see there. The other thing I really like about it is it's not ridiculously low at the front. I'm pretty small busted, so I don't know whether ladies with a fuller bust, whether it would be the same, but for me, you know, it really is a very good fit at the front. But I have got a little tip for you on how I got it to sit so nicely and not gape or, you know, flap open when I lean forward. There is a great little tip I'm going to share with you about that. The sleeves, did I shorten the sleeves? I did shorten the sleeves actually, so I think the sleeves are supposed to be about a 3/4 length and I shorten them to be a short sleeve because I knew I wanted this dress for summer, and I'm really pleased with the length I've shortened those to. All I did for that, I've shown you this on a video before if you're a regular viewer, but I just folded the sleeve pattern piece up so that I didn't actually cut the pattern piece. I'm just trying to find the pattern piece now for you, sorry everybody. Oh, here it is. So I've still got the full sleeve piece intact here, but when I shortened it, if anyone else wants to do the same length as me, it looks like I shortened it to where the first notches are, and I just fold the excess pattern tissue up out of the way to create that shorter sleeve, like so. And then, you know, if in the winter I want to make the long sleeve version, which I'm almost certain I will do because I just really love this dress and the fit of it, in case I hadn't mentioned that, then I can just extend that back out. And the other thing I always do when I do the sleeves as well is I do just make sure that I create, you see how a sleeve pattern sleeve pattern piece usually will just kick out at the ends there, and that just, it means that everything matches up nicely when you hem it. When you fold that back on itself, it all matches up nicely. I just always add that little kick onto the end of the short sleeve as well, which I did talk to you about in a previous video as well if you're a regular viewer, but you just want to add a little kick out, which you can do by filling in that. You really want to fill in the gap where I folded the pattern piece up like so, and if you see there's a little triangular gap here, you just want a piece the same as that, and then you cut that out and stick that onto the end there, and that will give you that little triangle. It's not the end of the world if you don't manage to do that, but it just gives it a really nice neat finish, and you know, means everything matches up really nicely when you hem it. But yeah, I just think, you know, I did my high round back and forward shoulder adjustment as well, but I always have like quite a lot of fitting issues in this area, but like the armholes fit really nicely, it just sits really nicely, it's super comfortable. The waist tie is really quite slim and thin, which I didn't realise when I was making it. I thought, oh, that'll be easy to turn through. I didn't bother doing my overlocker trick, which I've talked to you guys about, which is where you can use your overlocker to turn the strap through. I'll pop a link to that tutorial below for you if you haven't seen it before, but I didn't bother doing that. I just sewed the strap and thought, oh, I'll just turn it through the regular way, and then I realised actually they are really quite narrow, so that was a bit of a pain. But what I did have, I was lucky to have one of these loop turners. I think mine was a clover one, which we stock as well. I'll pop links to these below for you. But if you haven't got an overlocker and you can't do that trick for turning straps and, you know, waist ties and that sort of thing, these loop turners are brilliant. They're really, really useful. You just slot, I've got an image, there's an image on Instagram, which I'll share with you, but you just slot it onto the end of the fabric, or you can push the tube fabric over this tube on this one, and then with this one you use the wooden bit to push the fabric through to turn the strap through. Or if you've got one like this, or the clover one that I used, there's a little clip on the end and you just clip that onto the end of the fabric so it holds onto it, and then work the fabric over the loop turner and it'll turn it through for you. So that was really handy having those. But yeah, my advice would be with this dress, use your overlocker trick for this waist tie if you've got one, but if not, use a loop turner. But I really like the way that that's a nice narrow tie as well. I just think that's quite a nice feature, and I've got mine wrapped around, it's quite long, so I have got mine wrapped round, it comes across like that, and then I wrapped it round the back and then round my waist at the front, and you can just make it sit on your natural waist, which again is very flattering and kind of accentuates everything in all the right places, which is nice. So yeah, just a really wonderful pattern that I know I will come back to time and time again. So I'm going to give you that little tip now for the neckline. It's a brilliant tip that my mother-in-law shared with me many years ago, but I think this is the first time I've properly tried it out. But this is clear elastic. I think we do a prim version of this as well, or swimwear elastic you might hear it referred to. And what you can do is on the seam which comes down across the front like that, when you sew that seam, so on this dress it's finished with a facing. When I sewed the facing to the bodice, I just sewed some of the clear elastic into that seam, and I fed it through the foot on my overlocker, because I made this dress predominantly on my overlocker, which stretched the elastic a little bit as it's sewed through, and then that just pulls everything in and keeps it nice and flat against your chest. It works really, really well. If you were doing it on a sewing machine, you just gently pull it as you stitch. I'd always recommend just testing out on scraps of fabric first, just to make sure, because you know, if you pull it too much, it could gather the fabric and you could end up with an over exaggerated effect, which you don't want, obviously. But having said that, also what you might find, it's good to test on a scrap, because you might find that you think that it's kind of gathering too much, but then when you press the fabric, actually it sits really nicely, and that's what happened with this dress. So I did a couple of tests on a scrap of fabric first, then I decided to go for it, and on one side of the dress I overlocked the clear elastic into the seam as I sewed the seam, and then as I saw it coming through the overlocker, I thought, oh god, you know, the fabric's bunching up a little bit, or have I gone a bit over the top there? So I chickened out and I didn't do the other side on my overlocker, but I really regretted that, because when I pressed it, it sat beautifully, and that was this side. So on this side, what I had to do, I chickened out and I didn't put the elastic in as I sewed the seam, but what I did is I went back afterwards, and because it's got a nice wide facing, I was able to just sew some clear elastic into the seam, you know, after it had been sewn. It's not going to have quite the same effect, but I was able to do that, and it's nothing is visible because it's all inside there. Because then what you do with this lovely wide facing, which is just a really nice finish, I think, is you then top stitch that down. And I did that on this using my walking foot, because when I sewed without my walking foot on this fabric, it was definitely stretching it, and yeah, it wasn't doing that top stitch very well. So I decided very quickly to use my walking foot, and I was really pleased with the results. It sewed beautifully, so definitely recommend using a walking foot for jersey fabrics if you haven't got an overlocker or you need to do any sewing on your machine with them. It works much better accuracy, and it will make sure those layers feed through at the same rate instead of, you know, one stretching or feeding through more quickly. So that's definitely a good tip as well. To hem it, I use my cover stitch machine, and that worked out really well. That worked out really neatly, and I think that's pretty much everything. I think I said to you I made my forward shoulder and high round back adjustment, which are just standard adjustments for me whatever I make. And there's tutorials on both of those adjustments on our channel if you have a look. Anybody who notices that shoulder seams are too far back when on clothes for you, or where you find that clothes ride to the back a lot, and sometimes you'll find that the neckline cuts into you at the front because everything wants to ride back. It's if you've got like a curved back, a slight curve on your back, it means that you need more fabric to cover that area. So the fabric's trying to sort of work to cover that area of your back, and it's struggling and it's going backwards. So yeah, all of those tutorials are available on our site. But yeah, I don't think there's a great deal else to say about this. I just absolutely love it. I'm really thrilled with it. Mimi G did a great sew along to this as well. When I was sort of checking out the pattern and seeing if I thought it would be a good one, I noticed that she'd done a sew along on it, and she's made it a couple of times, and I really liked her versions. I just think it's a wonderful pattern to have in your stash that I know I will go back to time and time again, and this fabric is just wonderful and perfect for summertime. So I hope you've all enjoyed that today. As I mentioned at the start of the video, everything I talk about, the loop turners, the clear elastic, the fabric, the pattern, the tutorials I mentioned, I'll pop up links to all of those below for you. And if you like what you see today, please like and subscribe, because every Friday I'll bring you a video packed full of sewing goodness. Okay, I look forward to seeing you all next time.